when the teacher understands and uses all 6 C's in a unit, we have data that students do grow and achieve better than they did without it. We have that data because as teachers have to do that. I can't say that because teacher scores increased on test scores and they happen to be using our framework, but that's the reason their state test. There's too many other variables. But we have a number of teachers whose test scores have increased. Can't say that's because of our data. That's empirically ridiculous. But can we say that there may be a piece of that in there? Yes. So at least we know these things. But we also know, like we were talking about, that the reason we insist on all 6 C's is it's all those pieces coming together that make it work. And here's the way one principal put it that I thought was great. Nothing that Stevie and I are telling anybody about is new. There's not a thing in the 6 C's that you haven't heard before, I would bet. But the way she talked to her faculty, and I thought, wow, that's a great way to put it. She said it's about being very intentional in your planning about these things. So what we talked about was, if you just have post-assessment data, and you can't compare it to any pre-assessment data, you can't justify growth. So the question was around, how do you convince principals at these buildings that are so focused on state tests and data that shows that the school's improved, etc., to incorporate these things like telling your story into the classroom. And what I say is I have my teachers, I say, if you come in, we actually model this. I'm the principal. Come in and justify what you're doing. And you know, they fumble around and stuff and try to justify it because it's modeling and I don't expect them to be good at it. And I say, you can't do it. You haven't made a case. So we actually teach our teachers how to talk to their cooperating teachers and principals about, here's what social justice and equity is based on. Here's James Bankworth. Here's what we know about collaboration. Here's what we know about a caring classroom. Kids can't move on. There's tons of research out there about that. It's nothing new. We have yet to have the principal in our program in the Denver Public Schools say to our teachers, don't do that. Because it's been explained. Because we're trying. They say, do this. Here's what the state requires, what the district requires, and what the school requires. You mold that together with what you're doing, go for it. And that's what we have to do. So that's where we're coming from when we look at these things. I don't think it's anything new. It's about being intentional. It's about taking the research and putting it into a framework that's pretty easy to recall. Questions or comments? Angry responses? Ready to take a nap?
No.
Okay, here's what I'd like you to do, because we're running out of time. Just write down in your 3-ring binder on your computer somewhere, what's one thing in one specific unit you will do differently the next time you teach it or with your faculty or as a counselor based on today's work. Write down one thing before we wrap this up. And then we've got the slab of marble to go back to. Think of get this next thing in. As you're writing, keep writing. But